Hello, we are going to go over your Chapter 1 review. My review on the screen is going to look a little bit differently than yours. I've spaced mine out so that you can, so that I could write some extra things in there and just kind of explain a few problems at a time. So make sure you're listening. You can always pause this video if you need, ask questions, you can replay parts. Just make sure you're ready for your test. So, ways to study. You can rework missed problems on any separate paper. So anything that you miss on here, you might want to rework. Go to separate paper, rework it, and then see if you got the proper answer. You can also rework your quiz problems. I gave those back. Everybody got to keep those. You can rework any homework problems. If you miss problems on worksheets that we've done, redo those. Study. Practice. And then study these steps. So anytime we solve equations, we've talked about distributing first. So that's when you take whatever is squished up against the parentheses and you multiply that by everything inside. So this example would be a -3 times an x and then a -3 times a +4. So if we distributed this, this would be -3x minus 12. -3 times +4 is negative or minus 12. Combine like terms on each side of the equal sign. So if there are any variable terms like x's, or if there are any constants, which are just your numbers, put those together first on each side of the equal sign. Then undo a variable. Okay, so that's where we do like minus 3x on both sides or plus 2x on each side. And then just go ahead and finish solving. So let's look at these equations. So in these, what I've done in green is my step. So you're always trying to isolate the variable. Since this is x plus 7, you want to do minus 7 on each side. This side cancels, leaving you the x by itself or isolated, and then 3 minus 7 is -4. Okay, same on this one. Here's the z. There's a minus 2.7 beside it. To undo minus, you add, or to undo subtraction, you add 2.7. So 8 equals z. If you write z equals 8, that is completely fine, or just leave it like this. -6 and r squished together, again, quote, squished together, means indicates multiplication. So in order to unmultiply a -6, we're going to divide both sides by -6, and we show division with a fraction bar. So you work this side. You can use your calculator on the test. I've told you I won't make you show a check step, but especially on the test, you are crazy if you don't take this -12, plug it back in. So you would type in -6 times -12 on your calculator. If you get 72, you're correct. If you don't, you're wrong. Go back and fix it. All right, and then these next one, these are basically, well, this first one's just a one-step problem. To divide by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal, or since you're using your calculators, you could type in 15 divided by 1/5. Okay, and you get 75. And again, if you check that, 1/5 times 75, if you get 15, you're correct. If you don't, you're not. Two steps. We talk about undoing what is farthest from the variable on this side first. So the 4 is squished against it. To get rid of a -6, add 6 to both sides. You get down here, 4 is indicating multiplication, 4 and the m together. So divide both sides by 4, you get m equals 5. On this one, this x is literally sitting on top of the 4, so that's really close. Get rid of the +7 first. We do -7 on both sides, and then to get rid of x divided by, fraction means divide, x divided by 4, we multiply both sides by 4. And again, you can always take this, plug it in right there. You need to do that on the test. You should know that you are correct on every problem. On 7, like terms. So -7 waffles and +12 waffles together makes 5 waffles. Now that we have no more like terms over here or there, start solving the problem like you would have above. This one, like terms can also be constants or just the numbers by themselves. So a +3 and a -6 combined together makes a -3. And now that you have all like terms on either side combined, now you start undoing from each side to get the variable isolated. On the test, I'm okay if you leave 11/2 or 5.5, but do not leave non-simplified fractions. All right, on these, you are distributing first. I would suggest drawing your arrows. The most common mistake is that you forget to distribute to the second part. Okay, it's not fair to give this 3W candy, this side of the room, and not this side of the room. So remember, you have to distribute evenly or fairly. There are no like terms on either side, so you just start solving the problem. Add the 24. When you get to here, oops, my 12s went away. Divide by 12, and you get W equals 8. Again, you can plug this back into your calculator. Using order of operations, you would do 3 times 8, which is 24. 24 minus 6 would be 18, and then 18 times 4 would be 72, so you know you're correct. Check your work on the test. Do not distribute this 5. The 4 is what is against the parentheses, indicating multiplication. So the 4 times the P and the 4 times the 3. 5 just drops down. Combine like terms. Undo the plus 17 by doing minus 17 on both sides. Divide both sides by 4, you get P equals 11. Again, if you plug this in, you would have 14, and then you would do 14 times 4, and then add 5. If you don't get 61, you're wrong. Fix it. All right. Read directions. Solve the equation. Determine whether your equation has one solution, no solution, or infinitely many. All of the ones that we have talked about so far on this review have been what a one solution looks like, so you know what that is. When you have no solution, it's when the variables cancel or are eliminated, and there's a false statement. I'll show you one down here in a minute. Infinitely many is when the variables cancel or are eliminated, and you have a true statement. So on 11, you actually can work this one. This is the first one on this review where we've had variables on both sides. So normally we say undo the lesser variable, because a lot of times that just keeps things positive for you. You could have also done minus 6c, and it would have worked as well. So since you have variables on both sides, you want to get them all over on one side. So you undo a variable. This was a positive c, so we take it away or subtract c. And then you have 5c plus 3 equals negative 12, and I think you know what to do from there. Be careful with your negatives. Again, plug this in up here. If both sides are equal, you did it right. If they're not, you didn't. Fix it. All right, this is one that after you distribute, you might notice right here on this line that 8q minus 12 equals 8q minus 12. Those are exactly the same. When both sides of an equation are exactly the same, that's infinitely many. If you're just working along and you went ahead and undid a variable or took away 8q from both sides or subtracted 8q, and then you're left with negative 12 equals negative 12, which is a true statement, so you say infinitely many. On 13, after you distribute, you get negative 3g plus 12 on this side, and over here I also see a negative 3g and a positive 2. Well, if you undo a variable, if you add 3g to both sides, you wind up with 12 equals 2. If that is not true, and you really should put a slash through that equal sign, then you say no solution. Okay, so if the variables are eliminated and you're left with a false statement, you say no solution. On 14, distribute. Make sure you distribute evenly. The negative 3y drops down. Distribute on this side as well. Combine like terms. Since there are two y terms on this side, put those together. Okay, now we've got no like terms over here any longer. No like terms over here. So now we've got variables on both sides. So undo a variable. You can either do minus 5y or you could do minus 12y. Either way will work. From here then you should be like, oh good, I know how to do this. It's just a two-stepper. Go ahead and add 36 to both sides. And you get 4 equals y, or y equals 4. Doesn't matter how you write that. Moving on. All right. We have done a few problems like this in class. Read carefully. I know sometimes that's more difficult. You can see I underlined a few things. So Company A has a $100 activation fee and costs $35 a month. B does not have an activation fee. It has $60 a month. Write and solve an equation. If it says write and solve an equation, you do have to do that part to figure out how many months it will take for the total cost to be the same. So you'll see I wrote equals here. Okay, you could have also up here where it says and, write a plus. And this and that means you're going to add them together. So basically our question is, when does A equal B? So A, Company A has a $100 activation fee, plus $35 times the months that you have that plan. We want to know when that's equal to a company that has 0 activation fee. I put a line through that because you did not even have to write that part. It's just $60 per month, so you could have left this part out. Undo a variable. you get 4 equals m. Please make sure you write a proper answer for a real-life problem. M equals 4 doesn't mean much to us, so please do make sure you put 4 months. On 16 and 17, it says solve the equation for y. That's the same directions as put in y equals mx plus b format. So this 5x is on the left. We don't want it on the left. It's a positive 5x. Do minus or subtract 5x from both sides to move it to this side, basically. It's canceled from here. When you write them on this side, write your x term first. So this minus 5x or negative 5x just drops down. This positive 2 drops down behind that. Same situation over here. 4x, you do not want the x terms on the left. Move it to the right. How do you move it? You do the opposite. This is a positive 4x, so you subtract 4x from both sides. Okay, the 2y drops down. The minus or negative 4x drops down. The positive or plus 8 drops down. And then you want to get y completely by itself, so you have to divide all 3 parts by 2. And then that's your final answer. So you're not really getting y equals 7. You're just getting it in this y equals x term, constant term format. And last 2. So we've had a couple like this, especially on the quiz. Write an equation to find the value of the variable, then find the angle measures of the polygon. Don't forget this second part. Sum equals the answer to an addition problem, so that means the 3 angles add up to 180. So you write an equation, combine like terms, and solve it. You wind up getting x equals 15. So then that second part of the directions up here means that you need to take x equals 15 and plug it back in up above. So x is 15. This is 5 times x. Since x is 15, that's 5 times 15, which would be 75. You can again check yourself. 75 plus 15 plus 90 is 180, so woohoo, you did it right. Similar concept over here, except for these add up to equal 360. So all 4 of those added together equals 360. Combine all your like terms, divide, you get b equals 20. Don't stop there. Then find the angle measures of the polygon. So let's start over here. 4 times 20 is 80, 5 times 20 is 100. Those are also then 100, and that one is 80. So if you add those 4 up, it does equal 360, and you know you're right. So that is basically it. That's your review for the Chapter 1 test. If you have questions, we'll have a few minutes before the test where we can plan time to answer those. So do your best.